Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
Joining us now, Dina Esfandiary, who is with Bloomberg in Geoeconomics, and she is had the privilege of studying with Lawrence Freedman. What was that like, Dina? You wander in the door at King's College, and it's literally like you're talking to the Adam Smith of war studies.
First, thanks for having me. You don't know better than to just be excited and appreciate that you are studying with some pretty great people, and then really appreciate the mentorship that they give you, which is what I got.
This war that we're in, it's on the cover of the New York Times. There's maps that you look at and all that. Dina, have you ever seen? I mean, this is not like Kuwait. It's not like Iraq. There's something different about this Iran affair of the president. Discuss.
So much to say, so little time. I mean, I think the Iran issue has historically been a real unifying issue in the United States, which is odd, given that the U.S. political elites are pretty much split on absolutely everything. Iran tends to unify them, although I think Trump's desire, or at least build up and steps towards war, is beginning to kind of chip away at that unified elite. So I think there's that element of it. And then I think there's the element of the buildup, right? The buildup is the military buildup, the US military buildup in the region is really consequential. It's really significant. It's unlike anything that we've seen in the past before. Is it really intended to go to war, or is it intended to scare the Iranians to the negotiating table? I think there's an element of both, but the risk, of course, is that the buildup is so significant that unless Trump gets everything he wants out of an agreement with the Iranians, he's going to have to use it to justify that buildup.
Dina, I think, as you mentioned, the buildup of military capabilities in that part of the world's substantial. Do we know what the U.S. strategy is? What does the U.S. want here from Iran? That seems to be unclear for a lot of folks.
I mean, that is the million-dollar question. What are the objectives of what the United States is doing right now? It started out as, we had to find a way to contain or roll back Iran's nuclear program. Then for some people in the United States, it became about regime change. Then it returned back to the nuclear program. It's really, really unclear. And the reason for that is I think the administration itself is unclear on what its objectives are. I think there's an element of opportunism right now.
Okay, but
there's an opportunity.
Dina, how are the generals and the admirals, like the pros at this, like you? Do they feel left from where you sit? Is this being run off the desk of the president in the Oval Office? Or is there actually a discussion of normal planning of a conflict or a war in the process of war studies?
I mean, I think it's impossible to go to war without at least having a conversation with the generals. And in fact, it's been reported that President Trump has been briefed on the military options when it comes to Iran. And part of that briefing and conversation is actually why Trump didn't go to war with Iran in January when the protests were happening and when he promised to send help. Because I think the briefing from the generals really frightened him and pushed him to build his capabilities up first.
That's the smartest thing I've heard, Paul. I mean, I'm sorry, but forget about all of our parents were riveted and molded by Pearl Harbor. November of 1979, there was a problem. The Exocet missile in the Falklands, there was a problem. Where's the problem here, given what we see in those maps, Paul?
I don't know. So, Dina, what is the role that Israel is playing in this situation? Other allies, perhaps other players in the Middle East? Is it just the U.S. and Iran with this stare-off here? What are the others doing?
I mean, I think the main players are definitely the U.S. and Iran, and the main decision maker on this front right now really is President Trump. But I think Israel is playing a huge role in trying to sway Trump, in trying to really convince him either to go to war or to have a very maximalist position in the nuclear negotiations. And bizarrely, compared to a few years ago when the first nuclear deal was being negotiated, it's the US's Gulf Arab partners that are actually urging restraint, that are saying, we don't want war because we don't know what will happen once the fighting starts.
Well, Dina, that's right where we wanted to go. I mean, did you study the American Civil War, Dina, at King's College? Or is it just the
Very
English
little.
Very little. Okay. July 1861, first battle of Bull Run. The socialites of Washington went out to watch the battle because it was going to be a short little skirmish. America after Iraq, America after Afghanistan is jaded about short little skirmishes. Do you assume if something happens this weekend, whatever the president decides, that this is some form of short little skirmish? Or do we end up with a bull run like the American Civil War, 4, 5, 6 years?
I think if you had asked me this question 6 months ago, 7 months ago, I would have said, I think there's a chance we can keep it short because the Iranians don't want to escalate further. They don't want to fight a war they know they're going to lose. I think today the issue is really existential for Iran. So they have no incentive to not escalate. Their incentive is the opposite. Escalate, throw everything we have at the problem and see what we can do, how to get the US bogged down further in the region, impact oil markets by shooting at oil and energy infrastructure in the region, potentially closing the Straits of Hormuz. And once that happens, it's absolutely impossible to keep this short.
So, Dina, I guess if we step back and say perhaps a strategy for the US would be regime change, because anything short of that seems inconsequential relative to the assets that are being deployed there.
Well, for sure, that could be an option. But then the problem is the assets that are deployed there are not enough. Okay. It's going to be virtually impossible to change the system from overhead. You're going to have to put boots on the ground. And I don't think any American president wants to put boots on the ground in Iran.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, again, what's the next step you're looking for, Dina?
I'm looking for the beginning of that conflict. I think, sadly, everybody has cornered themselves into that first airstrike happening. And then we'll be looking at how does Iran escalate? Does it go all out immediately, or does it do it step by step? I think my sense is that it will be a pretty rapid escalation. And then it becomes really difficult to say what will happen next.
Dina, thank you so much for your work. Really, really appreciate it this morning. We'll be in touch with this all week. And Joe Matthew and Kaylee Lines leading our coverage. Look for that at 12 noon. Dina Esfandiary, Middle East Geoeconomics Lead for Bloomberg Economics.